Testing, 1, 2. Oh, look how small it is. Let's blow it up. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little bit better. It's Scyther. Now, what if I try and swap it? Yeah, that looks seamless. Um, New set just came out. B1B? Is that right? Um, Mega Shine, I think it is. Um, I've already done all the step-up battles with it. So these are not my first impressions. I've got a loose idea of how all these cards work. But I'd like to go through them and kind of give this, before we've had any kind of competitive time with the game, I'd like to kind of give my thoughts about these cards and then look at it in a few months' time and see how right or wrong I was. It's a pretty small set. It's only like 70 cards, something like that. Most types only have like 10 at most. Some of them a lot less. Um, some types look a lot better, some types look a lot worse, I guess. We'll just go through it. I don't know. Let's not beat around the bush here. This Scyther is a lead into Scizor, obviously. You got the colorless energy, and then you also have the ability to switch out. And Scizor's big thing is that when it comes in, it does bonus damage. In fact, let's just take a look at it right now. So Scyther, you do want to be benched, and you want to kind of bring it in. Here's Scizor for the record, though. It's a 200 HP Mon, which is pretty good. We've got a lot of good stage 1s in this set, I think. So Sightseer is going to be doing some work. Um, should I actually look at it, or we'll save it for metal? The Scyther looks like a pretty good card, though. I think there is a Scyther. No, the Scyther that does 30 damage, I think, needs a Leaf Energy. So you probably would use something like... You probably would use this one. This one looks decent for its HP, decent for its ability to switch out, but maintain the energy. That's nice, because oftentimes in a Scizor deck, I imagine you will be forced to lead with this thing. And if you want to get your Orthworm or your, whatever else you have in without having to discard the energy from Scyther, without having to run X speed, this is quite nice, or needing to have the X speed in hand. We have another grass type that's going to evolve into a metal type. We have Pineco, or Pineco. It looks very bad. It looks very middling. I don't remember what the evolution is like, so we'll have to wait for that one too. Um, Grass didn't really get a whole lot of help this set. I don't know how good or bad it was per se. Um, we have Volbeat and Illumise, and they're obviously intended to pair together. Volbeat does 10 damage and confuses the opponent, and Illumise does 20 damage, which turns into 60 if the opponent is confused. Now, 60 on 1 energy is pretty good, but needing to retreat this after, like, once you kill something with this, like, something new comes in, and then what? You're back to doing 20 on 1 energy, which is abysmal, and you don't evolve or anything. And then what? You got to bring back in the Volbeat, and the Volbeat looks terrible in isolation too. Like even just in grass, I feel like there's better ways of confusing the opponent. If there's something that can confuse from the bench or something like that, that seems like it'd be pretty good for Illumise. Unfortunately, a lot of the mons that kind of exploit confusion, are they even grass type? Like obviously Mega Lopunny can confuse you or something like that, but like, you wouldn't run that alongside Illumise. I don't know how you're intended to. I feel like Illumise is maybe playable with the right support, and Volbeat looks completely unplayable to me. Their HP values are decent though, and Grass type has nice HP support anyway. We got a new Phantump. This one could technically evolve in either direction because it's colorless. Nice HP value. And then we got Trevenant. I think our last Trevenant was 3 energies or something. Flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 40 more damage for each heads. That's, that's pretty obnoxious. Even 40 on 2 energies is not the worst thing in the world. It's not great. It's not good. You're going to average 1 heads, which is 80 on 2 energies, and that's actually not bad at all, especially when you consider the 120 HP, and you could potentially run a heavy helmet with this. Not a playable card, I think. It's kind of novel. It's probably not absolutely horrible, but it's not great. But it is funny that it could pretty easily get like 120 damage on a good roll. Yeah, Grass doesn't really have... Like, obviously you will run Scyther, but the other 5 grass cards are not looking great. Well, maybe Pineco is great. I don't know. We need to look at Fortress. We got a new Charmander. It's got a little bit more HP than the other ones. Um, I would probably still run the 1 energy Charmander that discards its energy. I think that's pretty good to kill the babies. 2 energies on this little guy is, I think, a little too slow. I think being able to kill a baby immediately is probably the best thing a Charmander can do. And discarding the energy is not even a bad thing because of Flame Patch. It like just preps your Flame Patch. Sometimes I'm playing like a fire deck and I just don't have. I like try to play a flame patch and it's like, oops, I haven't discarded any energies yet. I had that happen just recently. Ignition. We have another Ignition Charmeleon. This was in what Mega Rising or whatever. This was a Charmeleon that came out a little while ago. And that was I don't remember. There was a set recently that had this kind of Charmeleon. And I thought that there would never be like Charmeleon. That was just going to be like the new best stage one, and we would never. It would never be outclassed by another Charmeleon. But we've got just another Charmeleon with the same ability. This one attacks for cheaper, but does less damage. The other one is 3 energies. This one's only 2. I can't look at them side by side to compare the HP or whatever. It puts an energy when you evolve. It puts an energy from onto your active mon. So oftentimes it won't be the Charmeleon. Oftentimes the Charmeleon will be on the bench, and you'll be putting the energy onto like uh, an Entei or something. But even if you're putting it on like a Magby, if the opponent kills the Magby again, that energy just gets put into the discard pile, so you can then get it back with patch. So it's not the end of the world. I think this Charmeleon is a very good card. I think the other one is really good too. I'm not sure which of the two you would run, but you would definitely run this over a Rare Candy. This is worth running over Rare Candy. Very good card. Competitive with the other one. Mega Charizard X. This is probably, in my opinion, the best looking EX of the new set. They're all kind of interesting. It's hard to say which ones are good and which ones are bad. The ones that jump out to me the most, I would say, are this one and the Manectric. 5 new EXs this set. We've only got one pack. 220 HP is great. It's about what you would expect for a Stage 2 Mega. And then we do 100 damage on 3 energies, which is, the cheapest Charizard so far. And no kind of self-detrimental effect or anything like that. The retreat cost is not even that high either, too. Obviously, it can't touch like an Oricorio or something like that, but 100 damage on 3 energies is reasonable. And then with that high HP total, if it gets hit down to half HP or less, well, specifically 110, you start doing 180 damage on 3 energies. And the thing is, almost nothing can kill this. Like, obviously, like a Beware could kill it, but like almost nothing can kill this in one attack. And to do half its health is how you 2-hit KO it. So the only way you can kind of dodge it getting a powerful hit is to do, like, let's say you have Altaria with 2 benched mons doing 100, and then the next turn you bench another mon and do 130, Something like that. You'd have to do, like, some little sequence like that to avoid it getting to its powered up state. And that sounds really difficult, not practical in most scenarios. And then obviously it's a stage 2, so you could just run it with Lily. I would imagine you would run at least one Lily in any deck with this Mega Charizard X. Looks really good. It is an alternate evolution. It has got a different name than the other Charizard, so you could run it alongside Mega Charizard Y and just, Charizard EX if you wanted to. They have a lot of redundancy between them, so I would never do that, but it's kind of novel that, they don't cross each other out or anything. It looks a lot more stable than the other Charizards. The other Charizards all have some, like, big downside, except I guess Stokesard. But this guy is just, he's just attacking. He's just strong, and he activates a little quicker than the other ones, which is pretty cool, actually. You could get this going pretty quick with Flame Patch, potentially even in one turn. Good looking card, in my opinion. Fire looks pretty good this set. We got Ponyta, burns the opponent. Technically speaking, it's probably better than the one that does 20 damage against most targets. Maybe not against a Regice. Looks okay. And then we got a new Rapidash. This is another 1 energy Rapidash. It's a pretty fun one. It's 30 damage on the first attack, so strictly worse than the original Rapidash on the first attack. But then on all subsequent attacks, you're doing 60. And this is a Rapidash. It's just regular plain Jane Rapidash, which means it works with Blaine. So we've got new Blaine support. So Blaine causes this to do 60 damage on the first attack, which is, great. Actually really good, very important threshold. And then 90 on subsequent attacks. So 90 on 1 energy is pretty awesome. And you don't have to discard the energy or any nonsense like that. So this actually does, like, this does synergize with Blaine. Now, are people running Blaine decks in the present era? Probably not. I think there is something to it. I think you actually probably can run some semblance of a Blaine deck currently. But I don't know, like, what the pieces are. But Ninetales is still a good card, and this actually looks pretty good, too. We haven't had any kind of retreat tricks yet, have we? No, everything's about what you would expect. Wait, speaking of Blaine, we have a new Magmar. I would never run Magmar. I would never run this Magmar with Blaine. It looks very forgettable and bad. I would run one of the other Magmars. We've got a bunch. It does retreat for kind of cheap, but 2 energies. Notably, they seem to want you to make a Fire Lightning deck for Magmar and um, Electivire, and this is colorless. So I guess that's the concept now that I'm thinking about it. So if you're running like a dual type deck with Fire and Lightning, there you go. You'd run this Magmar perhaps. I don't even know if you would. Here's the new Magmortar. If Electivire is on your bench, this attack does 20 more damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Now, Electivire is not a troublesome Pokemon to run. You can get it pretty easily. This is a stage 1, and Electivire is also a stage 1, so, Sightseer is going to do some work for this kind of deck. Um, and then Electivire also powers up for Magmortar. It's not like a one-way thing like Nidoking and Nidoqueen. They both get powered up. So, very feasible. Um, 3 energies, and only one of them is fire. So, like 7 times out of 8, by the time you get 3 energies, you'll have enough for this guy to attack. And then this fire and lightning energy. So obviously, energy switch works, and then Magby and Pichu both work. So there's energy ramp for you to use. I think the entire concept is pretty decent, honestly. Um, Magmortar doesn't have any kind of support. It doesn't work with Blaine or anything like that. Electivire does have support with uh, Volkner, but I don't think you would bother to run Volkner with this latest Electivire, but we'll see it when we see it. 70 for 3 energies is not amazing. With ramp, it's okay. The 130 HP is pretty good. The 2 retreat cost is kind of the worst of all worlds. You'd honestly maybe want it to be higher or lower. Um, 20 damage to each of your bench Pokemon is mostly just helpful for Cyrus, but it will help you hit some kill thresholds, I suppose. But 70 is not, it's not that strong, you know. This is kind of like a mid-game card, early to mid-game, and the energy cost is kind of high for early to mid-game. Paldean Tauros, the power is decent, you know, if you are running it alongside that new Charmeleon, I guess you can get the energy onto it pretty quickly. Um, the self-damage is kind of annoying. It's not quite strong enough to kill an Oricorio easily. Obviously it came with Giovanni, but like what if the Oricorio is wearing a cape or something like that? Most Oricorio players run cape, I think. Um, doesn't look amazing. Probably not worth touching. Notably, it doesn't have to discard fire energies or anything like that. So I guess that you get to keep the energy, and then once the Tauros dies, you can patch it onto something else. So there's not too much opportunity cost. That's all we got for fire. I think that I don't know if there's anything to the Magmortar deck yet. I haven't tried to build it and run it. I think there might be something to the Rapidash. There's obviously something to the Charizard. Overall, fire is looking like it's got some new toys, and it's probably decent. We got a new Slowpoke, a little bit healthier than the other ones, I think. I think the other ones are like 60. And then one of our new EXs is this Slowbro. The Charizard was kind of an end game player, although you could have it as early as like the middle game. This one is also kind of like a middle to late game card. The HP is super good, 200, and it's only a stage 1, so it activates pretty quickly. But then the energy cost is pretty high. With Misty, it's not so bad. But otherwise, even with Misty, I would consider running like a Mantike or a Manaphy or something like that, or that new one, Feeny, with this. The attack is not that strong, is kind of the annoying thing. 90 is like, you might not even 2-hit KO Mega. Um, the attack effect is pretty good, though, pretty obnoxious. 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so obviously that sets up Cyrus 7 times out of 8. And then also, if the opponent has a baby, you've got a 1/2 chance of killing a baby instantly. Um, Let me think. What else about this? You can heal it with Arita. You can put a heavy helmet on it because it's got a high retreat cost. The Slowpoke does too, but not high enough. Um, the HP is just really nice, and then with the heavy helmet, it looks pretty annoying. But the damage output is very suspect. You're mostly going to be relying on damaging bench spawns and then Cyrusing them in. Because like 1v1ing, this is not going to 1v1 a lot of like other megas. Lapras, it always does 60 with its 3 energy attack, but then if something was just knocked out, this paralyzes, so it's 60 and then probably another 60 instantly. Cards like this are good with Manaphy. This would be a terrible card to build up on purpose, but the thing about Manaphy is you're building up 2 things at once, and so you can kind of incidentally build this up while building up something else. That being said, it's probably not good. Piplup, maybe once your Manaphy dies, this comes in and paralyzes something, and then, if this has 3 energies, something else probably has 3 energies. I don't know. We got Piplup. Completely standard card, nothing to say about it. We got Prinplup. Uh, Oh, I was gonna say this is, a basic with a 2 retreat cost, which is not very good. Prinplup, 30 damage with a coin flip for 60. That's okay. You kind of almost wish it was 1 energy and just 30 damage no matter what, you know. Playable card though. Obviously, you could use Rare Candy or you could just use this. Either way is okay. And then the new Empoleon people have been discussing a little bit. 130 HP is very low for a stage 2. But it says if your opponent's active Pokemon has more remaining HP than this Pokemon, this attack does 60 more damage. And the retreat cost is very low, it's only 1. So we're doing 80 damage on 3 energies, which is not great. But then potentially um, 140 on 3 energies, which is quite great. And this is another card that you can kind of incidentally build with a Manaphy while you're building something else. The problem is this is a stage 2, so that's going to take quite a lot of your deck space to build this up. You're not going to be able to easily run this with a Baxcalibur, and if you're running it with like Manaphy, you need to, whatever other thing you're charging up needs to be uh, either a basic or like a stage 1. And that's already a lot of slots of your deck if you're running like 2 Manaphys, 2 of this line, and then a stage 1 as well. That's a lot of Mons, not a lot of trainers. The cool thing about this is that it just has to have lower the HP than the opponent. It doesn't need to be missing HP. So, like, if you're just facing down in Altaria, you'll get the 140 damage without needing to do anything, because you're just already powered up. That being said, Altaria one-shots this, so, bring Cape, I guess. And Cape is kind of a weird thing to run on, this because it raises your HP. Probably a playable card. And then Fianny. This is just Pachirisu, but a water type. There's types for all of them. You have Fianny, Manaphy, and Mantike, and they're all kind of similarly good. Mantike can attack on turn 1, but it not being able to put energies onto evolved Mons, and then also being only 30 HP, are both very bad. The free retreat cost on Manaphy is also really nice, though. Or Mantike, rather. Manaphy charges 2 things at once, but doesn't deal any damage. This deals damage, but only charges 1 thing at a time. So they all have kind of upsides. Oh, this has a little bit more HP than the other ones, too. I've never run this yet, but I did run whatever it was, the Pachirisu, that charged, and I actually had good success with it. That being said, that was a long time ago. Many, many sets ago when it was new, and it might not be all that up to snuff these days. Worth exploring. So Slowbro, obviously, okay. Looks like one of the weaker EXs of the set, if I'm being honest, but I could be completely wrong. Empoleon, interesting, probably not amazing. Fianny, interesting, but facing fierce competition by the other 2 energy ramps of water. And I guess Baxcalibur as well. Pikachu. It's got a little bit more HP than the other ones. We got a new Pikachu. I made a Pikachu deck just recently, actually. It's kind of funny that they brought this card to life. Because I put 2 Pichu, 2 Pikachu, 2 Alolan Raichu EX, and then 2 Pikachu EX, and that was like the deck, and then like 1 Raichu. I realized that nothing in my deck could touch Oricorio. And then I looked at the Raichus in the game, and none of them can hit Oricorio very well. Like there's like the Genetic Apex one that just does way too much damage and has to discard all its energies, and it's just a nuisance. You wouldn't want to use a card like that to try and beat Oricorio. And then one of them does like 60 damage, and then another one I think also does. The one of them does like 40 and then 20 on a bench spawn and supports Arceus. None of the Raichus can like touch. I think even the Surge Surfer, the Alolan Raichu non-EX, was not good for killing Ori. And I remember looking at it and just being like, damn, like if there was just a Raichu that just on 2 energies could kill Oricorio and had some downside that I wouldn't even have to care about because its main purpose would be killing Oricorio, that would be so good for my Pikachu deck. And yeah, they made it. They spoke it to life. Literally, like, a few weeks ago, I was like, I wish there was, like, a Raichu that just did 70 damage on 2 energies. And I don't care if there's a downside. And then they made a Raichu where it does 90 damage on 2 energies, and there's a downside that I don't care about. So I think a Pikachu deck is now possible with this Raichu. It's a playable card. The HP is really low. 90 damage on 2 energies is quite great. And, Pikachu has alternative evolution, so you can just put this into your Alolan Raichu deck as an Oricorio killer, even if it's not a dedicated Pikachu deck. Looks good. It looks situational. I could see this card actually being in meta decks. Electabuzz. It's mostly here so that you can, get your new Electivire. It does require lightning energy. It's quite a good-looking card, honestly. 70 HP and 30 damage on 1 energy. The downside is they want you to use it in a fire lightning deck, and that might not be easy to get that lightning energy. So I need to look at the other Electabuzzes and see what else you're doing, because I don't know how well they're going to slot in on that deck. but I don't have that on hand. And then our new Electivire, so it's 1 and 1, so you've got a 3/4 chance on 2 energies. If you're playing Fire Lightning, you've got a 3/4 chance of hitting this energy requirement. You'll either get, only 2 fires won't get it. And then it's 50 damage, but if you had Magmortar present, it's 120 damage. Now Volkner can charge this, but Volkner puts 2 lightning energies onto the Electivire. That might be all right actually. You might still run that because I can see that this is like your nuke of that deck. You've got like Magmortar to kind of spread damage around, and then Electivire to do high damage to the thing in front of you. And being able to set up Electivire quickly is kind of nice. So maybe you'd run 1 Volkner or something like that, and just have it ready in the late game. It's for your second Electivire. I don't know though, because I don't know how much you're going to be spreading around those energies. It's an interesting concept for a deck. 3 retreat cost means you can put a heavy helmet on it. Oh, I just realized Magmortar's in this one. I noticed that both of them were in one of the card in Magmortar's card, but I just now realized that both of them are in this card too. It's pretty cute. I wonder if they actually have any kind of interaction in the Pokedex or anything like that, that they acknowledge each other, because they're found in completely different places in the games. Electrike. I don't think we've had one of these. No, I think we have had one of these before. I don't remember how this compares to the other ones, but the other one's probably like 20 damage for 1 energy or some nonsense. This one's like the Islands Ponyta. Mega Manectric. This one looks... I would say this one probably does look like the best EX of the new set. It activates very quickly. It's only a stage 1. 180 HP on a stage 1 is awesome, as you would expect for a Mega. It's another early game Mega, which on paper is very bad. But it has a kind of quick ramping effect that's kind of interesting. So already, this is a lightning card. So if you have Pichu, or if you have a Zeraora plus energy switch, this can attack as early as turn 3. And it can always attack on turn 4 if you can draw it in time. So this 80 damage on turn 4 or 80 damage on turn 3 is bonkers. It's very, very powerful, very early. That being said, you could say the same for Bellybolt. Then it does 80 damage at base, which turns into 110 if you have 1 point, and 140 if you have 2 points, and I guess it stops there. The thing is, if the first mon you kill is a EX, you've got 2 points right away, and you're putting this at 140 damage on 2 energies, which is crazy. I had a game. I was doing the step-up battles, and it was like beat Mega Manectric deck with all water, and I brought Suicune. And then in the game, my Suicune was killed. My first Suicune was killed by Mega Manectric, and he got 2 points right away, And I was just like, oh shoot, like this guy is doing 160 damage due to weakness. That's like more than my Suicune can even have in HP with a cape. That being said, I still lived and I still won because I had cape plus what's it called, starting planes. But still, this ramps very quickly. It's very dangerous. It's very fitting for a lightning card. It's like burn out right away. Whether go for an instant win. But again, it's an early game Mega. So if it takes some damage, it's going to be a huge target for the rest of the game. So you better hope it does some work in the early game, because it's going to be a huge liability in the late game. Pretty good looking card though, I think. I could definitely see people running this either like, on existing lightning decks, or rather I can see people building lightning decks around this. I don't know what you'd build it with. Oricorio maybe. Zeraora plus Energy Switch or Pichu are both very feasible, or all of them. That electric, what's it called? Electric generator. There's a lot of things that you could just instantly slot this in with. Raikou, if you want. That would be very strong. That's all I'm going to say. Cute little Drowsy. Oh, it's still good as a late game. I've been talking about it like, oh, it's so good in the early game because it does 80 damage on 2 energies, but like you can just only bring it out in the late game, and it's still doing massive damage if you've already got a point or 2 points. Like, it's still a decent late game card. 140 damage on 2 energies is still good in the late game. Ask Altaria. Here's a Drowsy. So wait, hold on, Lightning. The Raichu is a maybe for existing Raichu EX decks. Alolan Raichu EX. Alolan Raichu EX is a pretty good card, actually. Go test it out if you haven't. It's, like, surprisingly good. Electivire, there might be something to it. I will say, for non-EX decks, the number of cards you need to kill being 3 is actually a pretty big deal. I think people tend to underrate that. Non-EX decks are better than you would think. Probably underrated by the community. Mega Manectric obviously looks good. So we've got a maybe, and a definitely for Electric. Electric is looking a lot better. Anyway, Drowsy puts the opponent to sleep. Hypno also puts the opponent to sleep. but does 60 damage. Retreat cost being 2 is kind of lame. The Hypno from Genetic Apex, the one that puts the opponent to sleep from the bench, is like low-key a good card. I would probably run that one over this one. Mew. This is a pretty funny one. It picks a random attack from your opponent's entire like thing. One of among the Pokemon in your opponent's hand and deck. So I wonder if the opponent has no cards in their hand and no cards in their deck, what the heck it does. Does it also consider the opponent's fielded mons? I haven't labbed this. Okay, this is a card I haven't labbed at all. But you know, theoretically, let's say your opponent has like a Mega Charizard, you know, and you Mega Charizard Y, and you just happen to roll its 250 damage attack. That's 250 damage on 2 energies. How good this is really depends a lot on what you're facing, which is, you know, very appropriate for Mew. It's how Mew EX worked anyway. This one looks a little bit less committal than the other one, but there's just a really high chance you're just going to get something that you don't care about or want. It is the cinematic card of this expansion, though. It's cute art. Spoink! Big fan. This is a completely normal Spoink. The other one was Energy Ramp. That being said, the Grumpig right here, you wouldn't need the Energy Ramp Spoink for, so I guess you would run this Spoink with this Grumpig. It's 40 damage on 1 energy, but if they have exactly 2, 4, or 6 cards, it's 80 damage. And I guess, technically speaking, that has synergy with one of our trainers. Let me find it. This one, Nasty Notice. The opponent discards until they have exactly 4. Now, obviously, red card won't help you hit Grumpig's special number, but that one would. So if they have 0, you can't do anything. Or if they have, you know, 1 or 3, you can't do anything. But if they have 4 or more, you could play that and then attack with this Grumpig. It's interesting, okay? I don't know if it's good. It's not good. Okay, it's not good. I figured it out. Heavy Helmet, you know. It's an early game card, so you don't care if you're forced to lead with it, so you don't care about its high retreat cost. 1 energy for 40 damage is actually not even bad. Now that I'm saying it, like, that's okay. That's a decent early game threshold. And then 80 damage on 1 energy is actually very good in the early game. It's better than Hitmonchan. Diglett coming out of a wall there. I mean, if it's an actual mole, then there's nothing weird about that, I guess. If there's like a mole, the rest of its body is like mole-shaped. It should be able to pop out of walls just as easily as it can pop out of the ground. But I've always pictured Diglett so vertically that it's a bit weird to see it at an angle like this. Looks like it's like the Phanpy, but it has less HP, which is quite aggravating. I'd probably run one of the other Digletts before I ran this one. No, you know, this one's probably the best because it kills babies. The new Dugtrio, that HP is abysmal, but the kind of gimmick here is that it retreats for free, which is kind of good. Probably not a great card. You got a lot of cards in fighting that are kind of similar to this, but there's a lot that do like 70 or whatever. I don't know if you'd run this 60 damage one over like Sandslash or something like that. But that free retreat cost is actually pretty nice. But that low HP actually sucks. Don't like that card art. We got that Diglett in the background too. He's still there. I don't know what's going on here. Same illustrator. He likes the Digletts and the Dugtrios making this face. He thinks it's funny. Or she. Groudon looks ass. 130 damage on 4 energies. Discard 2 random energies from among the energy attached to all your Pokemon. So granted, to be fair, this has this might not discard energies from itself, which means that it could potentially attack repeatedly. That being said, fighting has no energy ramp, so discarding 2 energies per turn when you can only attach 1 per turn is horrible. And even hitting the 4 energy requirement for this thing sounds really difficult. It is 2 colorless, so I guess technically speaking, if you have some other form of energy ramp, such as Orthworm, or I don't know, Pichu or something, theoretically you could get the energies onto this. Orthworm is actually pretty funny because there's a Fighting Metal card in this set, so it's amusing that I would bring that up. Yeah, but even getting this active is going to be really difficult. Getting it to hit its energy requirement at all, and then it's probably only going to be able to attack like once. 130 damage is pretty good though, but looks unplayable. And then the fact that it's a 3 retreat cost basic looks completely unplayable. I guess you could just let it die if it's your lead mon. Hawlucha. This is a new one of those Oricorio killers. You can just, I think we already had a Hawlucha that was an Oricorio killer, didn't we? Well, now we got another one. It's a basic. It kills Oricorio in 1 hit. It can be run in any deck. The attack is workable. It's not amazing. 50 damage and then 10 damage to itself. If you're really strapped on ways to kill Oricorio, this guy can do it. He's cute. Only costs a single deck slot. You know, maybe you can make room. You could do that. You could do Repel. I don't know. Oricorio is an annoying card. Weak to lightning, so Oricorio actually like almost one shots it. It's a mixed bag. Um, Fighting got almost nothing. Those are all four fighting cards. That's fighting was already not looking great, honestly. And this is like you wouldn't even use it in a fighting deck. Fighting decks classically don't struggle with Oricorio. And then these are kind of throwaway cards, and this one looks actively shitty. So fighting not looking great. Darkrai. At the end of each turn, if your opponent's active Pokemon has to sleep, do 20 damage to it, and then you have an attack that puts the enemy to sleep. So you know that's kind of cool. And then there are cards like I don't know, Hypno. Yeah, you'd run something that can something dark type that would put the opponent to sleep, I guess. And those that surely exists, but I can't think of what it is besides this thing. This can actually be run on a psychic deck. Now I'm looking at it. It can be run in any deck type, and then um, the ability procs from the bench. It looks like I don't see anything saying Darkrai needs to be active, and it looks like it would stack too. I haven't really thought about this card at all until I'm looking at it right now. But theoretically, this has synergy with any deck that incorporates sleep in some way. That being said, I think it would be a liability because it's a basic with 2 retreat costs, so you can't easily slot it into your Venusaur deck, your Mega Venusaur deck, because it would just you'd sometimes be forced to leave with it. And that would be catastrophic. Even if you're running 2 Leafs, that would just be really bad because it would prevent you from getting your early Ivysaur, whatever. It's interesting though. I think there probably are some decks where this would be playable. Very interesting. 20 damage stacking on with sleep. And there's a lot of moves that cause guaranteed sleep because the game just assumes that you're gonna the opponent, sleep at best is 50% because the opponent can flip for it. So they usually don't do like coin flip for sleep. They usually just do guaranteed sleep, which means guaranteed 20 damage with a good chance of 40 damage and the opponent not being able to attack. And then if you can actually hit the energy requirement for this thing, it looks pretty good. Maybe a baby would help, I don't know. Dark has no energy ramp, but you could run it in other types, I suppose. Probably good at somewhere. This is probably legitimately a playable card somewhere. I don't know where though. I'm trying to think of like actual meta cards that incorporate sleep, and the only one I can think of right now is Mega Venusaur. No one's out there running Wigglytuff EX. Garbodor. Where's Trubbish? Why is Trubbish all the way over here? They're out of order. The Trubbish looks not amazing. 40 damage on 2 energies and a 2 retreat cost and 70 HP. Not amazing. The Garbodor actually looks pretty good. Like 70 on two energies is decent, and then the 3 retreat cost gives you heavy helmet, and you have 120 HP, which is above average. And it's kind of an early game card, so you don't care about the retreat cost. You're condemning this thing to death by bringing it in, but you're just gonna do some sludge whirlpools until you die. Honestly, looks pretty annoying in the early game, but you really probably could run this on um, Hydreigon decks. Now I'm thinking about it, because Hydreigon doesn't really need any kind of energy investment at all, and it having something out early to attack a little bit while you're looking for your rare candies in your Hydreigon card. This is probably a very decent ally for Hydreigon. That's a weird thing to say. But you can't easily go from this to Hydreigon. You're kind of relying on your opponent killing you. But it does look like they have a weird kind of synergy. Zora, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. Nothing much to say about this. The Zora arc is kind of neat. It's Espeon. They made a dark type Espeon. 20 damage for each energy for the opponent's entire field. So obviously if you're fighting like Mega Gardevoir, that's going to be pretty good. But other than that, probably not amazing. We got the Ghastly. It's kind of cute. Is there anything else about this? It's weak to grass. No like weird retreat cost stuff here either. Ghastly, it's kind of cute. I don't know if we've had a regular ordinary Ghastly like this yet. Oh, they've been psychic. That's the thing. This is a dark type Ghastly. Or I suppose, technically speaking, a poison type Ghastly. Important to remember that poison types are, dark types, and Ghastly line is all poison type. So there's nothing weird about them doing this. Haunter, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Gengar is a late game card, so I guess I can see why they would have a card like this. This guy was kind of the weak to fighting. This guy is kind of the whipping boy. When before this was one of the earliest cards they debuted. I think it was the first, and everyone was like, "Wow, that looks unplayable." And for what it's worth, the step up battle with it is really bad. It uses a very suspect deck that I don't think is very good. The only thing that makes this look even remotely usable is more Morpeko, which we'll look in a second. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any trainer cards, so that's items and its supporters. That's pretty crazy. And I suppose it's like stadiums too, you know, and like tools even, I guess. I don't know. I haven't tested it. I don't know if you can play tools or not. Um, but that's pretty big. That's excellent to be able to shut out all that stuff, and then 120 damage is, you know, it's enough to KO everything. The big nail in the coffin here is that Dark doesn't have ramp, and you're paying 4 freaking energies for this. So the times you really want to stop the opponent's energies, I mean not energies, trainers, is the early game. And this guy is not going to be ready until like the late game, and there's a decent chance he's not going to be ready at all. There's a decent chance you're just going to get blown off the board. The step up battle for this guy uses just 2 Chinglings and 2 Mega Gengars and nothing else. And I get what they're going for. They're going for like permanent item lock. They want the Chinglings to just drag out the game as long as they can, and then once the Chinglings are dead, they don't need any kind of energy investment, so all of your energies can go into the Ghastly. And then once both Chinglings die, hopefully you've got Mega Gengar ready to immediately start locking in items again. Um, Theoretically, that could stop all Pokeball use and all Rare Candy use, so theoretically there's some decks that could be strong against. But that 4 energies is just a little bit uh, too slow. Here's more Peko. Um, it moves 2 dark energies from itself to a benched mon and does 50 damage. Now that's very annoying because it has a retreat cost and also um, removes all of its own energies. I mean, theoretically, you could have 3 energies on it; it would only move 2 of them. Um, so you then need to put a new energy on it to retreat it. But I guess technically speaking, what you're probably going to do is just put 2 energies on it, and then every other turn just do nothing with it until it's killed. Just wait for it to die. You probably wouldn't try and retreat it. And then all those energies could be put on something, for example, a Mega Gengar or a Darkrai or something like that. I don't know. Um, Interesting, you know. Ooh, look, the Nanab berry. That's nice. What's he eating? What is that one? Is that an Applin berry? Is that a Persimmon berry? What does a Persimmon berry look like? Persimmon? If you don't have any benched mons, it does not move the energies away, so you can just attack with it over and over. So in a pinch, in the end game, maybe if you only have a more Peko and you don't want to lose its energies, you can not play down benched mons. Here's the Fortress from earlier, evolves from Pineco. It's a pretty funny card. This Pokemon also does 100 damage to itself and 50 damage to all benched Pokemon. A really hilarious thing from that is that it doesn't necessarily kill itself, because you could put a cape on it and it would go from 120 to 20. I have not labbed this, so I don't know if it works like that. Um, the fact that you're doing 50 to all benched Pokemon is actually huge. That's a lot for benched mons. And then also, uh, 100 damage to the target is pretty good. That being said, this is 3 energies to put on something, and then a very good chance it just kills itself. And I don't know if you can kind of like the you can play around the damage that you're doing to your own side, but it's going to be really difficult to justify putting 3 energies on this and then killing it. Even if you have like metal core barrier stuff like that, I don't know. It just doesn't look very playable. Mega Scizor. Now we're finally looking at it. 200 HP is awesome. It's a stage 1, so it deploys pretty quickly. It needs 3 energies. Now there is passable metal energy ramp, and then also you know, you have good metal stall cards like the core barrier, whatever it's called, or uh, metal apron, or adamant. You've got decent ways of mitigating damage until this guy's ready to go. And then you also have things like Orthworm or Probopass or whatever. Orthworm, I think, was a little suspect. I think it was probably okay. And now I think it's better because we have a card that helps it retreat if you want to retreat with it. Previously, you kind of sent Orthworm in to die, but now you can actually switch it out because of Reverum. And that actually has synergy with Scizor too. We'll look at Reverum in a sec. But the fact that Scizor, its attack does 100 damage, but then if you just brought Scizor in, it does 150 damage. And the thing about Reverum is that it switches out one metal Pokemon without using your turn's retreat. So you could have something die, bring in something else, and retreat that thing into Scizor with Revavroom, and that would just be free and not cost any energies or anything. Or you could bring in Scizor. You could just have Scizor out doing its little thing, and then you could have Revavroom switch it out to something else, and then have that thing retreat into Scizor again. And Scizor has 2 retreat costs, so it would need to spend 2 energies to pull this off. But you don't. Scizor could use the Revavroom retreat, and then the other thing could use the 1 energy retreat. That being said, you can't just do this with Revavroom and Scizor. I mean, technically you can, but Revavroom's retreat cost is 3. It's very high. So you would want to use Revavroom's ability on itself. So you would have to be doing the manual retreat with Scizor. So you'd need like 5 energy Scizor, retreat to Revavroom, and then have Revavroom ability back into Scizor. So, not super great, but still possible with just those 2. But if you have even a single like Metal Mom with 1 retreat, you can power up Scizor for 1 energy basically, or less if you have Leaf or X speed or all that. Looks good. Looks like a good card. The 2 retreat cost is a little awkward. I think Revavroom probably is a decent ally. I think you could use other allies as well. I don't know what cards you'd want to run with this. Obviously, things with low retreat cost would be good. Revavroom, giving it the free retreat is just really nice. There's not a lot of easy ways to do that. You could run it with a fossil, too. It's kind of a funny thought. Or any 0 retreat mon, a baby. A baby would work. And there's a few other random ones, too. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about that. But, like, theoretically, you could Revavroom this into a fossil and then discard the fossil. And that would just be a free way to power it up from 100 to 150. You could then spend the energy on something else. I don't know if you would bother with that. It's kind of funny. There is a metal type fossil. It's Bastiodon. So you could run Bastiodon with this. He probably wouldn't. Bastiodon is a pretty funny card. Probably not worth running. We got a new Ultra Beast, Kartana. Technically, it's not new. We've already had one. This is exactly like that one, except it's metal type instead of grass type. Looks very good. Unfortunately, Skarmory exists, and Skarmory has more HP, and you're going to be running tools anyway. And Skarmory's damage is also higher on the same energy cost. This one does not require the tools, so it's a little bit more consistent. There is support for Ultra Beast decks using metal. We do have Stakataka, and I think something else. I can only think of Stakataka. I think there might be another metal. I mean, obviously, there's Ultra Necrozma needs metal energies. I don't think you would bother running this in your Ultra Necrozma deck. I don't think you would run Ultra Necrozma. Probably playable. It's just that Skarmory is so good. Varoom. There's a lot of Varooms now, so you could run whatever. It's funny that this is like a pretty nasty little creature, but it had quite a lot of prominence in Scarlet Violet due to Team Star as being like the ace of every single Team Star team. And then also, I don't know, it's just had a lot of cards in Pocket already. I kind of think it's awful, I guess. I don't know what to think of it. The type is pretty cool. Steel Poison. That's kind of nice. I've never tried to use it, so I don't know what its like moveset is like or whatever. Steel and Poison are kind of the worst possible offensive types. You'd almost rather have Normal as an offensive type. Anyway, unfortunately, while this does... Okay, so the high retreat cost is almost an afterthought. Normally, having to run some kind of like garbage thing to kill Oricorio is not great. But the fact that you can bring this in so easily because of its own ability, you barely miss out on the kill on Oricorio. But it will 1v1 Oricorio pretty comfortably. And it still has good place in a metal deck. Anyway, it's not a bad card, you know? So I can absolutely see you running this in... I can absolutely see this being an Oricorio killer in your metal deck. It looks like it justifies its place in a metal deck. There's a lot of metal cards with just really high retreat cost, you know? Maybe you're moving around like a Melmetal EX or something like that, or like a Probopass EX. There's a lot of cards that see new life because of this guy. Probably very good, honestly. We got a lot of dragon cards this set. Oh, how do we do for metal? Um, looks suspect. Looks really good. Looks okay, but outclassed. Looks pretty good. Dratini. It's colorless, so you know whatever energy you draw first, it's still okay. Look at it. It's like looking at a butterfly. What is that? Rare instance of a non-Pokemon animal in a card. Maybe that is a Pokemon. Maybe it's looking at a Pokemon that hasn't been in a game yet. This attack does 20 more damage. That's fine. Looks playable. I got a yawn. This one people were discussing it a lot prior to release. Take a water and lightning energy from your energy zone and attach them to this Pokemon. So no matter what you draw first, you will now have like water lightning lightning or water water lightning. So you'll have 3 energies, and that's that's good for any of the Dragonites. That's good for Dragonite EX. That's good for the Genetic Apex Dragonite, and that's also good for this guy. The problem is this is exactly like Ivysaur, where you need to get your stage 1. It's actually worse than Ivysaur because you don't have the quick raw extract. But you have to get your stage 1, and you have to like attack. You have to use this attack and then not get killed. So hopefully the opponent can't kill this Dragonair by turn 4. God forbid they have a Suicune up already. Um. Anyway, here's Dragonite. Uh, Only needs those energies. You can get it even without the Dragonair's attack, but the Dragonair's attack is going to make it real straightforward. Obviously, you can do it with like babies and stuff like that. Discard a water and a lightning energy from this Pokemon to do 150 damage. Now, the cool thing about that is that it doesn't discard all your energies or anything like that. So theoretically, if you have a chance to use several Sky Blessings, you'll be able to use this attack several times. That's not going to be easy though. Um, 3 retreat cost is pretty high, but you can put a heavy helmet on it. You can also put that balloon on it. Anything with 3 retreat cost that's a stage 2 can use the hot air balloon to retreat around. So, theoretically you could go from that into, I don't know, a Pachirisu to get some more energies on this. I don't know. I don't know what you'd run it alongside it. I'd probably run the Genetic Apex Dragonite before this one, but this one's not bad or anything. That one's doing more damage than this one is, though. This looks like a playable card, honestly. The 150 HP is good. Obviously, you have like support from Lily or whatever. And water and lightning are very, very workable types. There's a lot of things you could run in a water lightning deck. You could just stick Oricorio into a deck with this, and it would manage. It would work. Axu, we got Metal, Fighting, which are very suspect types to run together. I haven't labbed it. I would try to figure out who the good allies would be yet. We got some berries that are probably actual berries in the Pokemon games. I don't know what they are. I don't love the 40 damage on 2 energies needing 2 different types. I feel like this should be 50 or something. You're never going to successfully attack with this thing. That being said, no weakness is pretty cool, and 70 HP is pretty cool. This one you might attack with, and 60 on 2 energies is pretty good. I mean, I think Sliggoo did the same thing, and I think also one of the Dragonairs, right? I don't remember. I don't remember for Dragonair, but Sliggoo was 60 damage on 2 different energies. And I did occasionally get kills with that. So I'm not going to bash this. This is not horrible. The Gumi, notably, was 2 different energies to do 40 damage, but that one had a crazy good ability. This one just has nothing. That being said, the Gumi had a 40 HP. Haxorus. This attack does 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. So it's like Suicune, but stronger, actually. So the only thing you truly have control over is your bench. So, theoretically, if your bench was full, this would be doing 110 damage. And if the opponent also happened to have a full bench, this would be doing, 170 damage? Is that right? 6 bench Pokemon, 20 damage per bench Pokemon. So, 120 plus 50, 170. I don't know, that's actually a lot of power. And then this thing actually has really good HP, as you would expect. Probably put like a cape on it too, just to dodge kill thresholds. What else about it? I don't know. It actually looks pretty nice. There's a support card for this too that makes it very interesting. you probably could. Metal fighting is really awkward, but 3 energies. By the time you hit 3 energies, I think it's the only way you can't attack with this is if you get 3 metal or 3 fighting, and that's what 2 1/8 chances. So 3/4 of the time this will be able to attack. Um, but then the thing about it is that you've got enough damage to like one shot a lot of stuff. But it has a pretty interesting trainer that goes with it. During this turn, if the opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage used by your Haxorus, you get 1 more point. Now, the notable thing about that is that actually kills. That actually, if you kill an EX with this, you actually win on the spot. Obviously, that doesn't help at all versus a Mega because if you kill a Mega, you win anyway. But that's very obnoxious for just killing like a anything. If you kill a baby, like your next kill just wins with this, or like if you kill anything with that Iris, if you could get some way of attacking a baby, I don't know. Needing less points to win is just kind of broken on paper. I don't know how good it actually is, but definitely there's some play to this card. Definitely it could work depending on what the team is, and I think there's going to be at least some cards that synergize well with it. Does Orthworm even let you put metal energies onto something that's not metal type? It does, right? Yeah, because it can put onto Scyther. That was in the stuff of battles. So I guess you could run Orthworm with this. It's probably not horrible. Um, Interesting card. Maybe good. Maybe good. No weakness is nice too. The cheat cost is kind of high, but I think you're just in it to win it once this guy comes out. Drudagon, Clutch. There's a few cards like this. The opponent can't retreat. Good for singling out and killing a Oricorio? Probably not. The retreat cost is a little high, and the HP is not so high. I think I'd rather have the Drudagon that just like sits there and has a Rocky helmet. Works in any deck type. That's kind of interesting. I don't know how you'd make that work. Probably not a good card at all. I think there's some play to this Dragonite, but you'd probably run one of the other ones. Mega Dragonite is not Mega. Dragonite EX is honestly a pretty good card. I think people are sleeping on that one a little bit. This Haxorus looks pretty good, but the Drudagon looks bad. But quite a lot of dragons in this set. That's kind of fun. I like dragons. Probably some of the most interesting cards. We got Jigglypuff. It looks ass. We got Wigglytuff. It looks ass. Hammer in 3 energies, 80 damage. Yeah, there's other ways you could spend 3 energies for like the entire. Put them on an Arceus. Don't put them on a Wigglytuff. HP's decent, but I'd rather have the Wigglytuff that's like healing or something like that. You would never run this in a proper deck. Miltank. There's Whitney support for this. What is that? It's like 50 HP healed on Miltank, something like that. This has like a random like good healing card. It looks okay. No, it doesn't look that good. 20 damage, but it goes up to I guess 70 damage if the opponent's got a full bench. They can play around it. They can see that you have this, so they would probably just not play some cards down. It's not like Miltank's very threatening. That being said, it does slot into any deck technically. I don't know if people are like I don't know. I haven't thought about Whitney in a minute or Miltank. There was like a brief period where people were running the rollout one when it was new, and then nothing since then. They have added more Miltanks, so Whitney does support more cards. This is just one of the ones it supports. Chatot, spinning draw card. I feel like we've had a card that was exactly this but 60 HP. Sigilif? No, I think that was 70. I think there was like a normal type one. Maybe I'm just thinking of Meowth. Didn't Meowth do that? Meowth evolves though. This doesn't evolve. We got another draw-themed Chatot. I like Chatot. It's cool. It's a cool little guy. What Pokemon is that? It's like something in the background. I can't tell what it's supposed to be. Ah, yes, it's Wigglytuff. It's a reference to Mystery Dungeon. The Chatot Mystery Dungeon was great. The Wigglytuff in Mystery Dungeon was great. Explorers of Sky is a great game. Honestly, if you've never played that game, go play it. Minchino. This looks to be our new Rattata of the set. And Cinccino. Cinccino. 30 damage on 1 energy. Maybe 10. Looks bad. 90 HP, 60 damage on 2 energies. Every other type can do this better than this thing can. We got a new Furfrou. We keep on getting new Furfrou forms, and I'm here for it. I think that's great. And they all do different things. I thought the Furfrou that attacked him 1 energy, I thought that was king. I was like, oh yeah, we're never going to get a better one than this one. But this one is better than... Well, it's not better than the 30 damage one. It's probably competitive with it. It's definitely better than the 50 energy, or 50 damage on 2 energies one. All of the Furfros are actually surprisingly good. The 3 energy one is pretty bad. It's pretty iffy, just because putting all that energy onto a Furfro is kind of too long to do. Um, but the Fur Coat is a really good ability for early game, and then just the decent HP, and then like just being able to attack early. The 30 damage one is the one I would play just because it's the minimal investment and still strong enough to beat babies. But this one is probably better than the 50 damage one because it hits better damage threshold. That one's 50 always. This is a 50 average, but one of the two numbers it can hit is 60. And that's a 100% chance if you play it with Will, if you're running Will. You wouldn't run Will for Furfro, but whatever. If you had something else that could benefit from Will, the Furfro could alternatively use it. This is the last card of the set. It looks playable, but I'd still rather have the 30 damage one, but this actually looks... Believe me when I say this is probably an okay card. Nasty Notice. So I took like a 1 second look at this earlier in the video. Um, the opponent discards cards from their hand until they have exactly 4. So at first I was like, okay, that doesn't look amazing. But there are very few cards in this game that force discarding. Discarding is a super rare effect. Like if your opponent's just running like a Suicune deck and they just have like 6 cards in hand or 7 cards in hand or whatever, and you play this, they have to just get rid of 3 cards permanently. Now they choose what they discard. I've not yet run into this in game, so I don't quite know how it works, but I'm just reading it. It seems that they choose what they discard until they have 4 cards, and they can just look at their hand and be like, "Oh, I'm probably not going to need my Klefki this game, my Guzma. I'm probably not going to need my Giant Cape. I'm not trying to dodge any threshold." So they choose what they're getting rid of. So it's not that broken, but it's still discarding. That being said, people in a what do you call it? In a post um, in a post copycat era, people are trying to keep relatively thin hands so they don't get copycatted. So this doesn't. It's not the right time for this to come out, but there's a lot of potential to it. And it's an item, so you can play it alongside other stuff. You could literally nasty notice to get them down to 4 cards, and then instantly red card them. So they just discarded some cards, and then they don't even have the cards they were trying to save, which sounds pretty funny, but probably not amazing. Um, Maintenance. I think the main thing about this, obviously, if you can thin the opponent's hand, that's powerful, and getting them to discard is the single most powerful way of thinning their hand. But most of the time, that they're probably not gonna be discarding more than 3 things, and then it'll be their most useless things. And most of the time, it probably won't even be played at all, like playable at all, because they'll just have 4 or less. Maintenance. This one's pretty funny. Shuffle 2 cards from your head into your deck. Draw a card. So if you just have the wrong cards, you can use this to potentially get the right one. I don't know if you can draw one of the cards you shuffled away. I've not played it yet, so I don't know how that works. Um, but it's like a worse Pokemon communication, but it's more versatile because it can draw anything. You could use this to get your Sabrina or whatever, if you're lucky, or your Cyrus. Sometimes you're just late in the game and it's just like, I don't have the card I need, but I can play maintenance. The problem is almost anything that maintenance could draw for you, you could just run. Like, I don't know. This one offers a little bit more versatility, but like, if you're just looking for your Cyrus and you don't have it, this maintenance could be a second Cyrus. Couldn't be a third Cyrus though, so I guess you got that for you. You got 2 Cyruses plus a way to draw one. Iris, I talked about it when I was talking about Haxorus. It is very. You would definitely run it if you're running a Haxorus deck. It's the main reason to even run Haxorus. And then Calum. This is a pretty interesting one. Draw a card for every Mega Evolution Pokemon in the EX in play, both yours and your opponent's. You lose if an EXmon dies, and Cyrus makes it difficult to retreat an EXmon onto the bench after it's already like played a little bit, because it could be pulled back in and potentially killed. And because of that, there's actually not that much incentive to run more than one Mega in your deck. It sounds kind of surprising to say, but like a lot of Kangaskhan decks are just running the one Kangaskhan, or a lot of the obviously if you might run two um, just to get it more reliably, whatever your Mega is, but you wouldn't deploy both. Like I think Mega Venusaur decks run 2 Mega Venusaurs and like 2 Bulbasaur lines, but like most of the time they just only use the one. Stuff like that. Most Megas you only need the one. Um, and then a lot of types don't even have more than one Mega. I don't think I've seen a deck yet that uses 2 different Megas in it. There might be one that I'm not thinking of. but I can't picture any deck that uses two different megas. So this is probably not going to be drawing more than like one or two cards. Obviously, if you're running two megas and you actually manage to set them both up, you can play this Calum and get two extra cards, I guess. And potentially three or four, depending on what's on your opponent's side. Might be playable in future. A little suspect now, since we don't have that many megas yet. Hiking Trail, a new stadium. At the end of each player's turn, player draws cards until they have three in hand. If you've got a deck that you can burn out really quickly, this is awesome. Just a deck with a lot of basics or like a lot of stage one, something like that. That you can just play out all your cards and then play the hiking trail and get new cards really fast. Obviously, the opponent can exploit it too, but you know if you've got a deck that you can easily burn out and the opponent doesn't, then this is going to help you more than it's going to help the opponent. Same thing as all stadiums. The opponent could potentially use it, but if your deck is built for it, you can use it better than they can. Looks like a very decent stadium. Looks like it would be the ideal stadium for particular types of decks. Maybe like electric decks with the like a high number of basics that you can just instantly play down, like Zero Aura or whatever, and then like items that you can instantly play, like Electric Generator. I think Lightning decks would really appreciate this hiking trail, perhaps, and maybe more in future. But Rare Candy decks or something like that probably wouldn't be able to use it very well because you'd be sitting on your stage 2 or your rare Candy a lot of the time. That's the last of the new cards, so I guess we'll just look at all the nice little art. We got Lapras. It's actually underwater. It never occurred to me that Lapras can dive, even though I think it literally can just learn the move dive. It's kind of cool looking at it, swimming around down there, a little plesiosaur. I'm again reminded of Pokemon Explorers of Sky. You got a lot of other mons in here. I see a Wishy-Washy, I believe, and a Finian, and Mantine, and Mantike, and a Spheal, and the Pelipper and Wingull. I think that's everyone. It's pretty cool. Great card art. Groudon. I'm sure all these people are like, I want a Groudon, but not like this. I think Groudon EX and Kyogre EX are the most anticipated cards of the entire game. I think a lot of people are really awaiting those to get made. Yeah, but this is not the Groudon that people have been waiting for. Let's put it like that. Will Groudon EX be the thing that saves the fighting type? It's a funny thought. Morpeko. I don't know why it's hangry form if it's got this much candy. I think it would be happy if it was in a place like this. Whatever. It's very cute art, very colorful. Revavroom, again, nice coloration. I don't know what it's doing. It seems to be floating. I guess they float in game too, don't they? Miltank, and then a nice little feast that I guess you're sharing with the Miltank. I don't know what's going on with that. It looks like some kind of picnic or whatever. You got the milk and the cheese right next to the Miltank, so I guess it's Miltank cheese and Miltank milk. That's nice. I enjoy this meal with my cow. That's Mega Charizard X. It's a pretty cool design. It's very, I don't know, edgy. You got the random spikes, the blue fire coming out of the sides of the mouth, and it's black. Black Charizard is just a cool idea. Mega Slowbro doing its best to look intimidating, but it still doesn't. Mega Manectric. I mean, this thing actually has the ability to intimidate, but I wouldn't call it scary. Mega Gengar looking a little creepy. It's kind of cool. I like these cards in game, but I never really liked the Mega versions of them. I like the 2-star cards for like normal EXs, but the Mega EX 2 stars. It's kind of cool they incorporate the base mon in the design. You can see regular Scizor back there, regular Gengar back there, regular Manectric. I appreciate that they do that, but they're too busy, and I don't love the color combinations. Colors here are okay. Colors here, a little iffy. I guess that's alright. I don't like that one at all. This one looks pretty sick. I like the red and blue. We got Iris in her black and white 2 outfit. She's cool. I guess. I don't really have any strong opinions on her. She's pretty cute. The dress being as floofy as it is kind of funny. Because she's so small. We got Calum. I have absolutely no feelings on this guy whatsoever. I have literally no emotions or like investment or anything. I beat I beat Pokemon X and Y twice. I guess I picked Calum both times, so I'm a veteran Calum. He's okay, I guess. I like that you can dress him up. There, I'll say that. That's kind of cool. Um, Mega Slowbro. For some reason, we only have two rainbows in this set. What? He's in like a city. That's kind of cool. And then Slowbro's really cute. I guess he spins. I guess that's laundry go around. Whatever. That's pretty. This is great. See, you can't make Slowbro intimidating. When they what I don't know what they were doing with this. They were doing their best. But this works. He's silly. He's cute. Um, that's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. The colors are nice. It's a bit hard to parse what's going on. Um, we got a regular and a shiny Mew. I have the regular one already, actually. I got it really quick. I didn't get the shiny one. I don't know if it's a different rarity, but we got two cinematics, and it's just the same thing twice. There's a bunch of other mons in the cinematic for this, as typical, and I wonder if they're all going to be shiny for the shiny Mew. That'd be kind of cool. Shiny Scyther, it looks almost the same. Shiny Pineco looks decently different. I actually have a shiny Trevenant. It's one of the most beloved shinies. I got it on accident trying to farm a Pseudo Widow in X and Y. Shiny Charmander, it's kind of goated. Shiny Charmeleon. Shiny Ponyta, there's a very iconic video on the internet of someone trying to find this thing for like ever and then getting it and freaking out. I would call it one of the better shinies in the game. I would call it like a top 10% shiny, maybe even a top 1%. It's a good one. Blue Fire, it's cool. Rapidash as well. Still very cool. Those are good ones. Um, this is the new Charmander and Charmeleon. This is the new Ponyta and Rapidash. That's the new Slowpoke. It's the damn same. It's the damn same. It's lighter. Um, that's the new Pikachu. That's the new Pikachu design, by the way. This is like how they design Pikachu currently. They give it a rounder head. They've significantly changed the way they've drawn Pikachu over the years. Um, Raichu is looking pretty cute. I've always kind of liked Raichu's design. It's like there are a lot of mons that go from being cute to being scary, or not scary, but like kind of tough as they evolve. And I like Raichu because it's as cute as Pikachu but bigger. Like it just completely missed the memo that you're supposed to look tougher when you evolve. Like Charmander's all cute and Charizard's all scary, and then Pikachu's all cute and Raichu's still cute. Electrike, it's there, it exists. I don't love it. Hawlucha, this is one of the coolest shinies, I think. It's another top 1%er. Ghastly, it's the damn same. A Haunter, it's only a little bit different. They're the new ones. Zora and Zoroark, I guess these are quite good. Top 10%, we'll say. Fortress, it's gold. Top 10%. Dratini, sure. Haxorus was a little early. I think there was a way to get a free shiny Haxorus. They had like an event for this. Dragonair, Dragonite. I like the pink a lot for Dratini and Dragonair. I think that Dragonite's is a downgrade. I'd rather it was also pink. Axew and Fracture are forgettable, but Haxorus looks pretty good. Um, all right. I don't know what Empoleon is doing all the way back here. He's like not with the other ones. I guess because this card art was revealed at a different time than the other ones. It's got Trubbish randomly in it. I don't know if Trubbish is in a lot of card art, and then Feeny. Feeny's just a prank on the player. I don't know if a lot of people remember that. I think a lot of people don't know the mechanics of Feeny. Um, After beating Pokemon Ranger, you can transfer an egg to your mainline game to like Diamond Pearl or whatever. And the thing about it is that because it was a Manaphy, because Manaphy hatches from an egg, you're tempted to try and breed Manaphy. And unlike all other legendaries, you actually can breed Manaphy and get an egg out of it. But then the egg hatches into Feeny, which is just Manaphy with lower stats and without all the good moves. It's just a little prank on the player. It's like, oh, you thought you could breed a Manaphy, you know? It gave you the egg, like you were really about to get another Manaphy, and then it's just this little dorky little thing. It doesn't evolve. It's not as good as Manaphy. It's cute, but it's like it's just from the fact that Manaphy came from an egg. Shiny Charizard. Shiny Slowbro. Shiny Manectric. This one's a really bad shiny. Shiny Gengar is quite good. Shiny Scizor. I think that they picked the wrong color for Shiny Scizor. I guess it's supposed to be Scyther colored. And then our gold rares are Arboliva, which probably is good enough to get a gold rare. And then Metal Core Barrier, which is absolutely good enough to get a gold rare. This is a very good card. I think this is one of the most slept on cards. This gives so much life to metal decks. There are a lot of metal decks that are just completely being slept on. I heard Skarmory was surprisingly great last set. Like people were running Mega Skarmory decks and like sweeping. Metal Core Barrier being one of the reasons. There's a lot of like metal cards that have fallen by the wayside that this would just help immensely. I mean, this also powers up Skarmory's attack, regular Skarmory's attack. It goes away after one turn, but you know, you're not going to hurt Skarmory during that one turn. It's going to be able to live through a lot of stuff. That's the set. Uh, Let me see here. Let's look at the... I have the 5 EXs right here because they're all the shinies. This looks like a playable card in top tier play. This looks unplayable. This looks quite good in top tier play. This looks suspect, but very small chance it's actually good. This looks pretty good. This is probably like an 8 out of 10 card. This is probably like a 9 out of 10 card. This is probably like a 4. This is probably like a 6. And this is probably like a 2. That's my assessment. Anyway, thanks for watching.